What is going on, everybody? It's Wednesday. That means it's me and Ted talking 49ers as we get ready for the San Diego Chargers. Rohan Chakravarthy will join us soon as he's getting out of doing some exam or something because he is a student. So you're just going to have to deal with me and Ted right now. I hope that's okay with you guys. Before we get started, I just want to say Ted's looks like he's upgraded and moved on up. He's got a microphone. He's got a new webcam. How you doing, man?
Doing great, Aaron. Happy hump day, and thanks for having me on.
Thanks for being part of the Wednesday deal here. I can't wait to eventually. We got to get an overlay made for this. I got to have somebody make one. The whole first in Ted is just perfect. Get the little first down marker below. I was thinking, like, what can I use for me and him? I was like, nothing works. Then I'm like, wait a minute, first takes, Ted, first and Ted. It's like, that's perfect. So guys, whenever you come into the chat, let me know if you hear this on the replay, if that's a good idea or not. So figure we get into it in here. We're coming off the second half of the season, or coming into the second half of the season. And the 49ers control their own destiny. What the 49ers got to do is not beat themselves. They have to play the second half of the Rams game the whole rest of the way. They have to be that team. The offense and defense playing complementary ball. How do you look at the Niners going into the second half? Do you agree that the Niners need to kind of play complementary football and now that they have Christian McCaffrey, maybe like really try to open this thing up, help their defense out so their defense can hunt and get after the quarterback?
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, that and, stay healthy. I was really loving the fact that we came out of the Rams game on turf at Levi's South with no injuries and none last week. But then, of course, even without a game this week, one popped up on Monday on a walkthrough. Samson had become injured his quad. And it kind of reminded me of when Tom Compton got a concussion during a walkthrough. And everybody's like, how do you get injured in a walkthrough? But, I guess it does happen. Now it's 2 years in a row for us. So we got that going for us.
And they're coming off of a bye week, which is weird, which means they're coming out of a time of inactivity. And it seems like that's happened. That happened to them in training camp too, where they'd have an off day and then they'd have a practice after the off day, and multiple guys would get some sort of lower leg injury. So that sounds like a organizational or a training staff issue there, that they're coming into a situation where they were inactive for a while. Now all of a sudden they're get dinged up. Real quick, I want to say hi to the chat. We got Raphael 562 in here. He says, "What's up?" And Aaron and Ted Talk and everyone. Thank you very Much. Damian Lee, he says, "Let's go red and gold." 100%. You like the idea? Thank you very much. 49er Chanel, he says, "What's up, faithful?" And then we got 916 49er says, "Niner gang." Absolutely, man. Appreciate you guys being in here. Yeah, I mean, the first half of the season is or the second half of the season is upon us, and I think it's important that you look at the schedule and it looks. I mean, me and Wayne Breezy had a quick like who wins, who loses. We have the Niners going 8-1 down the stretch.
I heard
with them only losing, and then I thought about it, and I might move towards more of a 7-2, just because I think 8-1 might be unrealistic. But I mean, you look at a lot of those games, especially against the Cardinals, they're reeling. The Chargers, the Chargers are really reeling too with a lot of injuries. I feel like the Niners are the better team. But you look at the first half of the season and you see just how inconsistent we were. And we went into Chicago thinking that was a no-brainer, and we lost. We lost to the Broncos in a game we should have won. Russell Wilson played absolutely like dog water. So it's hard as a 49er fan. I'm trying to be optimistic, but in the back of my mind, I'm giving the record to Wayne, and I'm thinking, I don't know though. Like, this team is totally like bipolar in the way that they play. What do you think?
I mean, I was shocked when you went with 8-1. I was like, "Where's the pessimistic Aaron?
Where's the New Yorker in him?
Where's that East Coast, pessimism that you tout so strongly?" But I could see 8-1. I think 7-2 is more realistic. I kind of like the the loss you had for Seattle on a short week and on a Thursday in Seattle where we always struggle. They're obviously looking pretty legitimate too, between Tariq Woolen, their rookie running back. I think it's Kenneth Walker is his name. Obviously, Geno Smith is playing really well. They drafted 3 linemen who weren't very good against us week 2, but seems like they're probably doing a little bit better. They obviously have some good tight ends there with Disley and Fant and the tall guy from Stanford. Blanking on his name. Anyway, they have 3 tight ends who can all block and catch and get yak. So none of them are stars, but they're all real solid. Colby Parkinson, is that his name?
Yeah.
Something.
I know there's
Parkinson.
2 corners. I know there's 2 corners that they drafted them. They drafted 2 that are playing really well. I think one of them.
Tariq Woolen, yeah, he's 6'4" and 4'2". So and playing really well. I mean, like they're saying he's like Sherm but fast. So if you can imagine that kind of gnarliness. So yeah, so I mean, I like Seattle as a loss. I think you are right saying there's concerns about the Dolphins. I think you're right too that it'll probably be a close game and we probably beat the Dolphins, especially just because Kyle has so much special love for the guys he loves, or has played with before, whether it's McVay or anyone who's from his coaching tree, he pretty much schools. I think he gives them a little extra effort. So I think McDaniel will get the worst of, or Kyle's best effort and the worst outcome for the Dolphins. But I think there will probably be one in there that you just don't expect that sneaks up on us.
Hey, we have a guest who's just shown up. We gotta bring him in here. I gotta change the. Sorry about that. Let me change the background. Sorry, guys.
Hey, look at my split head.
Sorry, chat. I hate to interrupt. Where are we going here?
There's a bit of my face. There we go.
All right. So you can get back to saying what I'm sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt you.
I was just saying that I thought you were right about Seattle being a probable loss on a short week. Miami, kind of more of a coin flip, but I like our odds with them. Brady, you never know. He could pull something out at the end like he did against the Rams, but we're much stronger than the Rams, especially if we're healthy. But there's always that one game where you think we're going to win and we lay an egg. And so I would expect one of those. So I'm thinking 7-2 down the stretch, or even maybe 6-3, a worst case scenario. So I'm thinking 10-7 or 11-6 to round out the season. It's kind of funny when the season started, or just before the season started, I was saying 11-6, 11-6, 11-6. Then Trey Lance went down and Mitchell, and we started having defensive injuries. And I went to 10-7, and eventually I was at 9-8. But then with McCaffrey back and people getting healthy, I'm kind of back up to like 11-6 is what I think. But 10-7 is maybe I wouldn't say worst case scenario, but realistic worst case scenario.
Say what's up to Scott Hill. Thank you very much for coming in here. He's a newer subscriber. He's been in the chat quite often recently, so thank you for coming through. Sentinel, what's going on, man? Appreciate you coming through. Willie Rodriguez, I feel like I've seen you before, but you have a special place in my heart because you're from New Jersey. I'm in New York. So he says, what's up, guys? Saying hi from Union City, New Jersey. NWO for life. Let's go freaking Niners. Yeah, absolutely. To me, and I'm gonna let Rohan get to his piece on too. So Rohan, we're getting into the second half of the season. The 49ers have everything they want right in front of them. It's up to them. I said that their biggest opponent is themselves. I think they have enough on both sides of the ball to do what they need to do and take care of their business. So I'll ask you, what do the 49ers need to do to take care of business? Do we have to? I feel like the second half against the Rams was the optimal version of the 49ers, that we need to be as close to that two-sided offense and defense complement each other type team. I think that we've been so bipolar, it's hard to get a real pulse on what this team is. What's your opinion on that whole thing in the second half of the season?
To be honest, my number one thing is this team has to prove that they can be consistent. They haven't, in my opinion, yet. Like, I'm not a negative person, I'd say that. I just view it how I see it. And right now, this team is 4-4. They've added Christian McCaffrey. They've lost a game with Christian McCaffrey, and they've won a game with Christian McCaffrey. They haven't had significant win streaks yet. They haven't proven, in my opinion, that they can play good football for 60 minutes. Because in that Rams game, they were down 14-10 at halftime. It's not like they've played a really good group of football. A lot of people hone in on the potential, myself included, because the potential of this team is a Super Bowl contender. That's why so many people are high on the 49ers. That's why so many people believe the 49ers will make the playoffs, potentially win the division this year, is because the potential of this offense was seen in that second half. It's an offense that was clicking on all cylinders in the run game, a strong pass game, and Jimmy Garoppolo potentially playing some of his best football of the season and going through his progressions, being a little more technically sound, which we haven't seen from Jimmy Garoppolo in his 5-year career. And so to me, can they be consistent? I haven't seen 60 minutes of good football yet. That's what I'm going to wait for in general. Uh-oh, you muted.
I did it too.
I think a lot of fans, including myself, like I was on with Wayne Breezy earlier, and I gave like a prediction of record, but in the back of my mind, I'm saying from just a team and talent standpoint, coaching, that's what I'll base what I think the record is going forward. But if you ask me as a fan, as an observer, I'll be with you. You know, they haven't shown that they can play consistent even through from game to game. They literally are a different team every time they play. And it's, you know, whether it's penalties, turnovers, injuries, you name it, the Niners kind of have their hand in every single pot. To me, the only way the Niners are going to win down the stretch and get into the playoffs is if they can reel off, 4 or 5 game win streak where the team that they beat is a lesser team and they prove it. They like some of these games, like the Cardinals, that should be a no-brainer, right? Beating the Cardinals. But, you know, the Niners have had issues with them in the past. The Niners have issues, you know, going into Seattle, no matter who the quarterback is or how bad they're playing. So, the chat agreed with me with when I said that if we go down to Seattle, we would lose. A lot of people are saying that they agreed with that. I know Wayne Breezy agreed with that. And they said that you agreed with that too, Rohan, that you just find that as a sneaky loss.
I said it at the beginning of the season. Like, I'm a person, I know Ted loves receipts, but I'm a person who I'll stick with what I said at the beginning of the year. Said this team would be an 11-6 team. I was wrong. I thought that they'd win one more game than they did in the first half. I thought they'd end 5-3 in the first half, but I also thought they'd lose to the Rams. And so it went a little differently. But at the beginning of the year, I highlighted 2 trap games, and the biggest one, it was actually on your show, Aaron. The biggest one was Seattle. I thought Seattle was the biggest trap game because of multiple conditions. One, short week. You're going to play to them on a Thursday. 2, the weather. Seattle is going to be acclimated to the weather. They have a home game against Carolina the week before. The 49ers are in San Francisco. Then they move up to Seattle on a short week. So the practice schedule might be different and the acclimation might be different. But now 3, the new factor that we couldn't account for in the beginning of the season, Seattle's playing pretty damn good football, pretty well-coached football. And the one thing that we can't necessarily always say about the Niners, because they've had penalty issues, Seattle's disciplined. That's the one reason that they've been able to win, because without like elite level talent on that team. So to me, I do think that that's a trap game. I do think that that is the one that I can say that could be the most reminiscent of the Atlanta loss in 19 or one of those type of games.
Yeah, the Niners did themselves no favor in the first half of the season. It's every game this is really, I mean, they could still get into the playoffs and be in, you know, like you said, a 9-8 team. Mm-hmm. Or 10-7, 10-6, 10-7. But, you know, they've done themselves no favor in the first half of the season, dropping the games that they dropped, especially to Chicago and Atlanta, 2 games that they should have won, should have been 5-3. Kansas City, I kind of picked as a loss. A lot of people did, and we got our ass kicked in that game. There's nothing you can say about it there. I mean, there's nothing you can say bad about losing to a Hall of Fame quarterback. He's just that good, straight up. There is no other reason other than the fact that dude's going to be wearing a gold jacket in about another 12 to 14 years. So, but there's been games, like I said, there's games that we should have won that we didn't. And Texas Niner said it best. He says this weekend's game is huge. I think CMC will show his importance again. Yeah, coming out of the bye week, as Texas Niner said, having a bye week and getting guys back this weekend is must. As healthy as we've been all year, I feel like the Niners are going to come out flat a little bit early in this game, but I think that they can find a way in the second half to get back on track. So, Willie Rodriguez says it best. He says we can beat any team as long as the QB plays mistake free and no turnovers. Yeah, that's pretty much everybody in the NFL, but especially with Jimmy Garoppolo. So it's all relative with this team. Injuries, penalties, questionable coaching decisions. The Niners have had it all this season so far. So I guess we'll transition into the injuries. We had a pretty good game against the Rams. We didn't have any new injuries. And then today, I'm sure you saw it right before the stream. Sam Zanebucom is now on the injury report with a quad injury, but the window for Jordan Willis has opened up. So I guess I'll start with Ted and then go to Rohan. Like, are the Niners just like snake bitten? Is there a curse? Like, what's the deal with walkthroughs and injuries? We and Ted were talking about that before you came in here. What is it, Ted? Are we just does somebody have a voodoo doll that is the shape of the Levi Stadium and the practice field? Like, what is happening?
It's that Seahawks brick in the entryway there that somebody put in. I don't know. I don't know what the answer is, but definitely we are snake bitten. I mean, there is no way to deny it. It's not just this year. It's not just last year. 2020 was a record-setting year, the most injuries of any team since 2012. But it wasn't just that either. I mean, we're pretty heavily injured in 2019. People tend to forget it because we got the first seed and we made it to the Super Bowl. But there were tons of injuries in the second half of 2019 and even 2018 and 2017. I mean, all 5 years of Kyle Shanahan's tenure, we have had, we're the most injured team, I'm pretty sure, over that 5-year stretch. So that can't be chance. There's something is going on. One theory I've had is practicing on grass and then going to play on turf. That we're just not used to turf compared to other teams that play on it all the time. But, even this Cincinnati injury happened on grass. So, and in a walkthrough, that's just wild to me. I mean, like I said earlier, it reminded me of last year when Tom Compton got a concussion in a walkthrough. Like, how does that happen?
How?
I don't know, but we'll find a way to do it. However you can, the Niners will find a way.
What's your opinion on this, man?
If I'm going to give my thoughts, I think it's an interesting theme, and it does scare you a little bit, right? That Ebukam does get injured in the walkthrough. I know it's the walkthrough. I don't really care about that part. I care about the timing of it. He got injured the day you come back from the bye week. He got injured yesterday is what I heard from what Mayoko said. This was a theme in the offseason. At training camp, players were getting injured right off. It's not like after consecutive days of practicing. They were getting injured after the day off. And it's unfortunate that was a theme right now. Samson Ebukam just got injured on the day after the day off. And so to me, I wonder what's the solution for that, and why haven't they been able to fix that? And it could be him just re-aggravating. I don't know which leg the quad injury was on, because remember he did have the Achilles injury for a couple of weeks. Those probably are nagging for a while. I know you go through the bye week, and he might have re-aggravated something on that similar leg. That could have been because he was still trying to practice while injured or something like that. But it's unfortunate for the 49ers for sure. I don't think that this is going to limit Ebukam this week. We'll see based on the remainder of the week. It depends obviously on how he practices Wednesday or Thursday and Friday. But yeah, I mean, it's unfortunate for sure. And this isn't something that you hope happens, because the 49ers are at a position where they are the healthiest they've been. Only 2 players in practice in Arik Armstead and Ebukam. I don't know if Armstead will play, because I do believe the Chargers are a turf field as well. We play at home, but I don't know if he'll play. I don't know if he'll play until after the Mexico City game, because of the altitude of Mexico City that could alter it. I think he could return in week 13, but we'll see.
Yeah, the Arik Armstead injury is becoming more clear what it was. It has something to do with a hairline fracture in the ankle or the fibula. It was a fibula injury, and plantar fasciitis. So, I mean, lower leg injuries are bad enough when you're 6'7", and a big man. I'm 6'3", 260, and my knees jacked up. It matters when you're a big person and your joints or your feet or your whatever are hurting. And this, I'm talking about athletes. I'm talking about well trained, in shape, great diet. If a slob like me, a middle-aged guy, can have those issues, a high-level athlete, they're going to have some problems, especially with what they have to do and the explosion that they have to use. Let's talk injuries. Let's talk Verrett. I'll go Rohan and then I'll go up to Ted. What's your thought on Verrett? You think the Niners put him on the field this week? And if they do, is it a rotation? I said I was on Wayne Breezy's and I said if they're going to use him, yes, use him. But if it has to be a platoon or some sort of rotation, I wouldn't have him playing 60 snaps coming off of all that inactivity. What's your opinion on that?
Yeah, to me, I'm not putting any stock into anything about Verrett until I see that he's going to practice throughout the week. Because we've seen him he's been questionable for the last 3 weeks. So to me, I do think that Verrett, I'm not going to put too much stock into it until we get the confirmation on Friday that he is off the injury report. Otherwise, we'll see what happens this week with Verrett. But I do hope that he plays. There is increased optimism at the moment that he is going to play, which is a good sign, because if he does, you get to kind of put players in their respective positions, right? Ward can kick back to free safety. Lenore can kick back to the middle, and you've got a competent enough player on the outside. And also, Keenan Allen, Mike Williams, both might not play this weekend. That might be the best kind of time to enter Verrett back in, slowly get him integrated before the matchup against DeAndre Hopkins and the Cardinals.
What about you, Ted? You're muted.
Yeah. Yeah. I think I'd be surprised if we saw more than 16 snaps rather than 60 snaps. So, yeah, I think you got to bring them in slowly. And to do that, I don't think you want to rotate everybody around. I think you want him and Lenore platooning at the boundary corner probably. And then, and then keep Jimmy Ward at the nickel, even though I know he doesn't like it. I think it's just the best. I'm a big fan of always as few changes as possible. And the last thing you want to do is have three guys playing 3 different positions if you can avoid it. So, yeah, no, I wouldn't be surprised if we see him a little, but like Rohan said, I'd like to see him full go at some point this week. Otherwise, he may just be a placeholder till later in the season.
Aaron, real quick, if I may,
I
just wanted to say one last blurb on an update. Jake Hutchinson of KNBR was on the No Huddle podcast for 49ers Web Zone earlier this week. He did say he believes that Jason Verrett has been healthy enough for the last few weeks. It's just a matter of the fact that the 49ers are being extremely cautious because if you remember back in 2019, Verrett was rushed back a little too early, and that was unfortunate in that case.
Game against the Steelers, he got absolutely
exactly.
That was bad.
He got whooped. So
Smith.
I think they're trying to avoid that at all costs, which is why it's been so cautious the last few weeks.
I mean, as much as negatives we could say about them and their training staff and all this, I commend them for taking it easy with him. He's a really good player when he's on the field. It's just he's never on the field. Real quick, I just want to say hello to a couple guys here. We got Brian Culp in the building. I think I might have said Heidi before, but if I didn't, how you doing, man? Always a supporter of the channel. He does his own thing. I've seen him in different streams before. Still working on getting him and a couple guys and doing a stream one of these days. I got to figure it out. Niner Gang, Wolfcast, a channel that's new, at least to me, that I want to say I really like what they do. I like their host. He does a real good job. And I want to do stuff with him in the future too. I'm just real happy that, I want to talk about the Niners community and just how awesome it is, from big time creators to people that are just starting out. I support and love all of you, and definitely want to do stuff with all of you guys in the future, for sure. So keep doing what you're doing, keep bringing the filthy, and hopefully the Niners win this Sunday and we could all be super excited and we could talk about it. What was I going to say here? To me, the Niners only will go as far as the injuries, and because I think injuries have a lot to do with you playing consistently. Like if guys are constantly in and out of the lineup, I think that affects things. The one area of concern that we had this year that actually hasn't been too bad, other than McGlinchey, has been the offensive line. And one of the reasons is because, Aaron Banks, Spencer Burford, and I know they're rotating him, and Brendel, they've all played pretty much the majority of the snaps so far. So in an area that we thought was going to be a problem, it's actually been kind of a nice thing. So it's, I think injuries are one of the big reasons that the Niners do suffer sometimes, is just they don't have the same lineup of people on the field, and it does matter, especially offensive line. The Niners, when they began the season, that pass rush, when they had the full complement, I mean, that was just insane, right? And now that they've had to move guys in and out of the lineup, you got, a guy coming off the practice squad who's then released and then put back on the practice squad. It lends itself to inconsistent play. So that's one of the biggest concerns for me with injuries, is it affects the quality of play down the line. So hopefully the Niners can stay as healthy as possible and have no more injuries during practice going forward.
I was going to let it go earlier, but since you brought up inconsistent play again, it reminded me of when Rohan said that we had CMC for 2 games and we went 1-1. And come on, you gotta. We didn't really have him for the Chiefs game. He was there for 2 practices, 1.5 practices before. So I mean, he did lead the Niners in touches. I do know that for the Chiefs. And no other weapon of ours had more touches. But just seeing the difference between the Chiefs and the Rams game, and the Rams have a better defense than the Chiefs, in my opinion. I think it's pretty unfair to say we had him for 2 games and lost 1.
I'm not trying to make a point about Christian McCaffrey. I just brought that up because McCaffrey was a part. Consistency argument, I think, lasts regardless. When you talk about the inconsistencies, what I've meant with that is in that Chiefs game, you're there for the first half. I thought you played pretty good football for the first half outside of that 1 minute where Garoppolo threw the interception. You played pretty good football in the first half. McCaffrey was an integral part of that. He had 8 carries in that game. Wilson had 7 carries in that game. Those were really good carries, in my opinion, from both players. But overall, that consistency, not with McCaffrey, obviously in the second half, because he didn't play as much with the 2-minute offense. That second half consistency wasn't there on both sides of the football. So to me, I think the inconsistency argument kind of lasts regardless throughout the season. That's why we're only 4-4 at the bye week. That's why we've lost to the Bears, lost to the Falcons, but beaten the Rams twice and beaten some of the good teams as well. So to me, that's kind of where it stemmed from.
One thing that I meant go ahead, Ted.
No. I was just gotcha. Yeah, no. I mean, I wasn't trying to say we weren't inconsistent. I agreed with your whole take, other than the 1-1 with McCaffrey. I mean, it's true we're 1-1 with him, but I don't really count the Chiefs as a full McCaffrey game.
I didn't really count the Chiefs game either, because I felt like he was just, it was kind of like Garoppolo when he came in. I mean, he did have a couple weeks to learn the offense, but like the playbook that they gave him was pretty much like, hey, let's do the stuff you did in New England. Here's 25, 30 plays. We saw the full gambit of everything with McCaffrey against the Rams, and it was beautiful. Which actually brings me into the next thing I was going to ask you guys. How do you split reps? Do you just go full Christian McCaffrey and say screw it to Elijah Mitchell? I was listening to KNBR, which I have to admit, even though I'm a 95.7, I love Shasky and I love Bonte. I was listening to something before showering, and it was talking about how you shouldn't play Elijah Mitchell and it should be all Christian McCaffrey and, go with the hot hand. I disagree. I think the 49ers, one thing Kyle Shanahan tends to do is he tends to ride guys till the wheels fall off, literally. So, Ted, if you're going to work Elijah Mitchell in, are you going to do it in a controlled way, maybe like 15 carries? Or are you going to go with the mindset of whoever I heard on KNBR and just say, screw it, we're going to run CMC all game and until they can stop him? What's your opinion on that?
Well, I mean, he's been out 8 weeks, so I think you got to bring him back gradually, get him back into game shape. You don't want to, rush him back and give him too many touches right away. No, I mean, I think Christian McCaffrey should get the most, and then, it should be Debo and Elijah Mitchell getting some extra carries as well. But yeah, we need to limit Christian because he's obviously had overuse injuries in the past with the Carolina Panthers. So we want to avoid that. I think they can all help each other to, Elijah Mitchell is probably more injury prone, it seems like, from his limited time with us. And obviously Debo, is dinged up right now, trying to come back from that hamstring. So yeah, I think all of them should help each other to limit each other. And I think Kyle kind of said as much today after the practice that Christian and Debo will, everyone, not only will they help each other, but everyone will be helped by the two of them being on the field, and which sounds like they'll be on the field together some at the same time, which is really exciting.
What's your take, Rohan?
I think that regardless of the health of Elijah Mitchell, he isn't going to see that many carries this week, just because McCaffrey was brought in. He was traded for significant compensation. He's going to be the lead back. I think that that's the case that is going to happen for the remainder of the year. And in a way, I think that's the case that most benefits the 49ers because, as Ted brought up, Elijah Mitchell's injury history makes it a little wary for him to get 20 carries a game. That's not what the 49ers drafted him to do. And I think now it's going to be helpful. I don't see Elijah Mitchell getting 15 carries in this game, but I can see it going forward if the 49ers are running the football. But I do think, honestly, as funny as it sounds, their offensive passing attack has grown to the fact where you don't need to run the ball 30 times a game for this offense to win games. To me, I consider screenplays as runs. The 49ers run a good amount of screenplays, and now they have several options where they can run those screenplays. You've seen the tight end screen this year to Kittle. You've seen the running back screens to Wilson or McCaffrey. You've seen the receiver screens to both Ayuk and Samuel. You have so many different things that you could do in your arsenal. So to me, that's what I kind of look at. I think that you don't necessarily have to run 30 times a game. And going back to Elijah Mitchell itself, I don't think he gets overused in this game. And I think that the bringing him back and also bringing him back a little slowly will eventually result in managing both his and McCaffrey's workload so that both can ensure that they're as healthy as possible in the long run.
Did you see the clip from the press conference today? Either of you guys? Kyle Shanahan wasn't too happy about letting go of Jeff Wilson Jr. and he said he was angry about it. John Lynch, he understands the reasoning, but he said something about, going down the stretch with people that are inexperienced. And that was an interesting soundbite because it sounded like he was legitimately not cool with it, which, I mean, it happens, right? In football, sometimes the coach and the GM disagree on certain things. What do you think about that, Ted? Did you see that, Ted? I don't know if either of you guys have seen it.
I saw the transcription, but I didn't hear it live, so I didn't get the emotion out of it that you got. I mean, I could tell a little bit by the wording. It seemed like he was not wild about it at the very least. And I can understand. I think a lot of fans were, have voiced displeasure over it. This fan base is somewhat split on it. Especially if CMC or Christian, I should say, or Elijah Mitchell end up getting injured. We'll see a lot more of that kind of talk, I'm sure. So it is a little surprising, though, because I thought Kyle had final say on all personnel decisions. But maybe that's changing. And, I guess we'll see how that goes. To me, I thought it was a good deal. We got a 5th round pick for an undrafted free agent running back. He turns 27 in just a few days, I think right around the middle of the month here. He has his own injury issues. He has fumbling issues. He obviously was our leading back this year, so I do appreciate him. I really loved the way he ran from a dark place, I guess was the way Juice coined it. So I'll definitely miss him. But I think it's a win-win. I think the Dolphins got a guy that they know fits their system. Unlike Chase Edmonds, who came from the Cardinals.
My brother loves him. He's a Dolphins fan. He's like, Mostert, Wilson. I was like, well, you're welcome.
Yeah, it's a hell of a backfield, no doubt about it. And, I think we won with the 5th round pick. We did great things in the 5th round.
Yes, we do.
I think probably for Kyle it was probably a little bit emotional because Jeff was an undrafted free agent and he developed him over all these years. So he probably has a special bond with him from, sort of taking a chance on him and it working out. So he probably wanted to see how it panned out. So I guess it just depends on if you're, just a year's person for tread left on the tire or, a carries person, because like obviously Mostert and Jeff Wilson Jr. didn't have many carries for how many years they've been in the league, which could allow them to have longevity longer than a normal running back at 27 and 30.
CJ Gray made a good point. He said that you can't move on from the rookies. Then there's CMC and Mitchell. Yeah, like it was the only real choice they could make. It's part of the game, man. It's part of, making moves, getting yourself. I mean, the Niners are killing it in the 5th round lately. So why the hell not, right? Yeah, my brother had Niner game Wolf guy says, yeah, the Dolphins must be nice. Yeah, my brother's he's pissed at their defense, especially after last week. I mean, they just got shredded by
The
they
Bears?
got shredded by the quarterback. He ran for 180
Right.
yards. Yeah, my brother's. We were talking about that. I was talking about some people. I said, if there's a team that scares me, it's the Dolphins. But in on the other side of that, my brother made a good point. He's like, your offense is really good and our defense is really bad. So it might be kind of a wash. You know what I mean? When we play the Dolphins. But yeah, it is sad in a way, but I mean, that's part of the business of sports. People move on. People don't want to leave. I mean, Joe Montana didn't want to leave. The 49ers front office didn't want to move on from him, but Steve Young, it was his time. And Montana was like 37 years old. I mean, you got to cut the cord, and it sucks. But it's a business in the end, and you do what's best for business, and you do what's best for building the roster out. So, I hope he does well this year. If the Niners don't do anything in the playoffs, my dark horse team is Miami. Just letting you guys know, because that's my brother's squad, and I've never seen them win a damn thing in his lifetime. So it'd be nice. I want to say something about Emiliano. He made this comment that I thought was funny and also sad. Where is it here? Where'd it go? He said seeing Jeff Wilson run is like watching a fawn on translucent ice. You're just like watching with trepidation. I can't find it here, but
I see
agree.
it. Yeah, the Jason Verrett one.
Yeah, here it is. I feel bad, but every time I see JV run, I'm over here feeling a wave of trepidation, like watching a fawn trying to walk on a lake of translucent ice. I mean, that is really put that's awesome. Yeah, that practice video that they showed about a month ago where he was moving around and it looked like he wasn't putting his foot on the ground. I was like, ooh, that doesn't look good. But yeah, I'm the same way. I'm worried for him, but at the same time, guys, you got to find out what you have going forward. You can't sit there and be scared. I mean, they eventually got to not pull the plug, but they got to make a move. We talked about the 49ers offense. We brought it up kind of what they could look like. So I'll ask Rohan and then go to Ted. What's your mind? Okay, so if the Niners stay healthy and you look at what we got, as far as Christian McCaffrey and Debo and Ayuk and Kittle, how dangerous can this Niners offense be, even with Jimmy Garoppolo at quarterback?
I mean, we've seen glimpses of it. We saw it a little bit in the Carolina game, but really, if we're talking about the full length of the 49ers offense, we saw it in the Rams game where they scored 17 points in that second half, something that we didn't really see all season from the 49ers. They've been a strong starting team, not a strong finishing team, but to see them not really, I'm not going to say they didn't rely on their defense because the defense played well in that second half and adjusting, allowing 0 points, but it wasn't like the first Rams game where Hufanga's interception really then sealed the deal. The 49ers were able to be efficient on all ends of the football, and they scored 3 touchdowns on in the second half. And so 3 of 5 touchdown drives, that's pretty efficient. That to me was without Deebo Samuel, without Juwan Jennings, and without Elijah Mitchell. Now imagine all those pieces come back
Yep.
This has the potential to be a top level offense in the league, a top 10, top 5 offense, maybe even in the league. But all it goes down to is, well, it is all goes down to consistency. But the biggest question regarding consistency has been number 10, the quarterback. So to me, I think this offense will go as far as Jimmy Garoppolo takes them. It's not the offense will go as far as the offensive line takes them, because I think they've played well and arguably been one of the best position groups for the 49ers on offense this year.
Which is strange because we were totally doubting them.
Yeah, but I think the offense will go as far as Jimmy Garoppolo takes them. And I think that ceiling has now elevated a little bit because Christian McCaffrey has made him more calm and more collected in the pocket and going through progressions rather than locking in on read 1 and read 2.
Ted?
Yeah, I mean, we talked about it a little bit last week. You know, we've got, I think we have the best weapons in the NFL, period. I don't think there's any team that, like you said, maybe not the best at any one position, but with Debo, Kittle, Ayuk, Juice, Elijah Mitchell, CMC, even lump Jennings in there if you want to, or Ray as our WR3. You know, so yeah, it's going to come down to, for me, Jimmy G, can he be consistent? I think he'll still throw to the defense at least once a game. I think they'll catch some of those. I expect, you know, at least one interceptable ball a game from him. And eventually the defenses will catch those. But I think the defense could be good enough to overcome that. You know, obviously Dre Greenlaw was back at practice today. Azeez Al-Shire's been back. So we're just really waiting on Eric Armstead and Kinlaw. And I think we'll keep waiting on Kinlaw for a while. It sounds like Eric Armstead might be closer. I might think he might play in Mexico City, but I understand the altitude. That does make sense.
Sometimes traveling on a plane too with injuries like that can cause swelling. So
yeah. But you know, the hairline fracture is a 4 to 6 week injury, and it's been, well, it'll be pretty well over 6 weeks by then. I think it'll be 7 weeks. So I like I said, I think we'll see Eric Armstead in Mexico City. That's my prediction. Kinlaw, who knows? He might be done for the season for all we know. But you know, fingers crossed. Hopefully that knee starts to behave. And then so our defense, I think, has the potential to be, I've been saying all along, top 3, not third. Now that was with Emmanuel Mosley. He's obviously not coming back, but maybe Jason Verrett can help pick up some of that slack. Lenore's done pretty well, and obviously now having Jimmy Ward as a nickel is working out pretty well. Especially imagine before too long he's going to have both hands, so he'll be able to, you know, jam and do press man coverage. I think that'll be a big benefit too. So yeah, I mean, I really like our offense. Jimmy G, like I said, is one limiting factor. The other one is Mick G. Mike McGlinchey is a big concern. But as you mentioned, interior offensive line looks really good. I think a lot of the inconsistency early in the season was Kittle being out the first couple of weeks, and then he came back and literally played one half in Denver with Trent Williams before he went out for 3 or 4, it was over 4 weeks with a high ankle sprain. So, I think that's a big reason for the offensive inconsistencies early in the season, beyond Elijah Mitchell being out since week 1. So, yeah, we're getting a lot of people back, including McKivitz, to where if McGlinchey does struggle, maybe we pull McG and put in McK. I don't know. So, I'm pretty high on our offense, and
Rohan's not down with that.
I think we're going to do well. Yeah, we're definitely, like Rohan was saying, passing more than we have in years, and it seems to be going pretty well. And I think that's only going to be aided by having Christian McCaffrey.
Just want to say hi real quick to Mariah Faithfully from the 49er Faithfully podcast. She is awesome. Go check their channel out. She's in here like every stream that I have, so I appreciate it. Much love to you. Mwah. Thank you very much. A lot of people in the chat, I know we were talking about the offense, but a lot of people in the chat were saying Kinlaw's done. Kinlaw's toast. I don't think Kinlaw has it anymore. I know we were talking about the offense, but either of you can go. Do you think we've seen the last of Kinlaw?
I mean, if we're being honest, for Kinlaw's sake, I'd probably say yeah. I don't know if Kinlaw returns, and also it's unfortunate, as it really is. I don't blame anything on Kinlaw.
Nope.
I think all the if you blame anything, blame it towards the organization for the selection, given the red flags. Kinlaw, unfortunately, it's really unfortunate how we thought the reconstructive surgery in the offseason would really prove to do wonders. It was working. It seemed like he was ahead of schedule. Hopefully, they didn't rush him back too early. I don't think that was the case, but it's unfortunate because the treatment we saw for Bosa has worked wonders for Bosa after his ACL. Kinlaw got the same treatment, and unfortunately, his body's just not responding as well. And the big thing for me was when we heard Kyle Shanahan say this was something that we kind of expected, like the bumps and bruises as well with Kinlaw. I do think that it's unfortunate.
Ted?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to sit here and say I'm expecting him back this season. I don't really know how it works on a guaranteed rookie contract, though. I mean, whether you just cut somebody or what you do, I think we'll give him one more year, honestly, and not pick up his 5th-year option. See if he can get a cleanup or something done in the offseason and try and bring him back for one more year, because I think the money's sunk anyway. So other than the roster spot, why not?
He's not getting his 5th-year option picked up. I mean, that's just, you can't. I mean, I know the Niners like to do goodwill deals and stuff, but I just, like I said, like Rohan said, I blame the organization. They had every single freaking piece of information that they could have had on the kid, and they try to do the whole "we know better than you" thing and draft them anyways, and now it's biting them in the ass. It's unfortunate. The situation in the offseason between him and Grant, I kind of caused people to kind of take sides on the situation. But at the end of the day, if you're just going based on what he's done on the field, he hasn't done anything really consistently because he's been hurt most of his career. And, a top 15 pick is supposed to be, an all-pro pick. I mean, you're a top 15 defensive lineman. You're expected to need more than just a space eater. And that's pretty much all he's been. He hasn't been a pass rusher. He's pretty decent against the run, but that's not what they drafted him for. They're replacing DeForest Buckner, which means you want a ton of production, not only against the run, but against the pass. And he's never been that guy. He's never been on the field to show it. Niners could have had Tristan Wirfs, which would have changed so much with this team, because you would have had him and Trent Williams on your bookend tackles. Like, are you kidding me? But instead, again, the Niners thought that they knew more, and of course, now they're holding themselves while he's injured again. It just sucks. It sucks because I think, freaking Kelts just said it. He just came in here. He thinks the Niners. Oh, sorry about that. Thinks the Niners should have chosen Buckner over Armstead. I agree. The Niners should have paid a little bit more money and just moved on, but they didn't do that, and now we're paying the price for it. I'm not saying we're bad. We're still a really good team, but imagine this team with Buckner and Bosa and all the other players that they have right now. But unfortunately, the Niners made the choice, and now they have to deal with it. So, sucks. I guess we transition fully to defense in this conversation. How do they get back to their first half form? Or can they, or is it going to be some sort of combination of what we saw against the Rams, and maybe like a combination of what we saw against Kansas City, as far as like, maybe they won't be a top 3 defense, but maybe like a top 12, top 15. Where do you go with that with Rohan? Do you think the Niners can somehow get close to what they were in the first maybe 4 to 6 games of the season?
I think it's really dependent on Jason Verrett, because the reason the 49ers were so good in the first half of the season was, despite injuries, when you had a strong secondary combined with a strong pass rush, that's where the formula is. Strong secondary with strong linebacker play, especially with Fred Warner manning the middle, with strong pass rush, it really took the pressure off each of the groups. Right now, the strong secondary is slowly evaporated, because while Deommodore Lenoir has done a fine job at outside and more so in the nickel, Deommodore Lenoir is not a guy who opposing quarterbacks look at and say, yeah, I'm not going to throw to him. They're going to absolutely throw at Deommodore Lenoir. And even when Jason Verrett comes back, the reason I said it's dependent on Verrett, if you think that the 49ers, they're going to throw at Jason Verrett, just like they did in Pittsburgh when he came back, they're going to definitely target Jason Verrett, because you don't know how his body will respond when he plays. That's why there are so many questions about how the ramp up will be. To me, I think it's dependent on the secondary. Have the 49ers had a good defense before without a good secondary? Yeah. So I'd assume it's still going to be a top 10 defense. I don't think that changes. But has the ceiling of this defense changed? Wholeheartedly, because you don't have Emmanuel Mosley anymore, who's playing at the level that Charvarius Ward was playing at.
Yep.
But overall, you do hope that the defensive line continues to stick up and continues to perform, because I think that that's really the orchestrator of this defense. You just wonder, how are they going to do against the best offensive lines? The 2 games where we've seen them, the Chiefs game was probably one of the best offensive lines, right, that we faced. I understand the injuries. Don't get me wrong. The Chiefs and the Falcons, those are the 2 offensive lines I think that are probably the best that we faced thus far. And we got killed. Without Armstead in the Falcons game, we got killed on the ground. They dominated on the ground. And don't look at the yards per carry. The fact that they were able to run the ball 40 times indicates that they controlled the game of pace on the ground. Yep. And then in the Chiefs game, we unfortunately could not get there quick enough. And also because of the lack of cornerbacks, because Charvarius Ward was injured at times, that also created that relationship where they can get the quick game going, but also wait and get the long passes going as well.
Ted?
Yeah, no, I agree. Strong offensive lines have been a concern of mine since Armstead and Kinlaw went down, especially interior offensive line, and that's where the Chiefs line is really stout, where they've got Thuney and Creed Humphrey and Trey Smith across left guard, center, and right guard. So any team with a strong interior offensive line scares me a little bit less with Dre Greenlaw and Azeez coming back. They've been out for a while. Also, I would mention that in Atlanta, Bosa was out, and he's obviously back and saying that he's really feeling well. He said he had some bumps and bruises that got healed up over the bye. Yeah, I mean, what do we have to do to get back? Just like Rohan said, we need Verrett to play boundary corner. We've got to slide Lenoir back to nickel and get Jimmy Ward at free safety. Eventually. I'm not saying
what about Womack? Is he ever going to touch the field?
I feel like it's either the rookie thing or it's that sort of tackling. I don't know exactly what the deal is, because he seems better in coverage than Lenoir. But you got to stop the run first in the NFL, and I think Lenoir is a better tackler. So I think that's really what it comes down to.
Yeah, and real quick on the Womack topic, I think there are 2 parts to it. If you talk about boundary corners, I honestly just think Womack's too small. He is 5'9". I think Lenoir does have an inch on him, and he doesn't play as physically. That's the thing. Lenoir doesn't mind playing press man. He's a little more physical, and he's got a better feel as well for zone coverage. Womack plays straight man coverage, and we saw it in the Falcons game. He did get burnt because bigger guys like a Kyle Pitts or like a Drake London were able to man their well against him. And in the slot, like Ted said, that run fit, I think they do prefer Lenoir.
Me and Wayne Breezy talked about it, and Wayne Breezy kind of disagreed. I asked about, I was like, is it because of his run fits that maybe Lenoir has the upper hand on if they were to move him back to slot? He didn't think so. I thought that, Lenoir does play better against the run, and, that's one of the, it's like on offense. You have to be able to block if you're a wide receiver. If you don't block, you don't play. The Niners, if you play slot on their team, you better be able to be good against the run, or you're not going to see the field. So, I kind of figured that. I just figured I'd ask you guys both in your opinion. We're going to wrap this up soon because I know Rohan's going to get going. But the last thing I'll ask, I was going to ask like a second half prediction, but we all kind of have touched on that at some point or another. Is the OBJ rumor? I don't think we necessarily need him, but if the price is right, I say, what the hell, go for it. I'll ask Ted, and then I'll ask Rohan to close it out. OBJ, yay or nay?
Let's let Rohan go since he's
let Rohan. That's true. That's true. You're right.
I appreciate that. But no, talking on the OBJ topic, here's what I tweeted yesterday. Do the 49ers need him? No. I said something along the lines of, is he a need? No. Do the 49ers, does it hurt if he's not on the team? Not necessarily, but does it? I think the one place where people are really questioning, does he help this team? Absolutely. I think that's an argument that I don't think other people can make, because he's just an extra weapon on the team. Now, there are obviously a good amount of questions, like who do you cut? Especially with a lot of players coming back from IR, you already need to cut one player. Are you going to carry 6 receivers? Where do you kind of go with that? Because the 5 receivers on the team right now, in my opinion, have a locked roster spot with contract situations. Obviously, the money's going to play a factor. Does he want a multi-year deal? I think that'll play a factor as well. And I think the biggest question that a lot of people aren't talking about, does he want to come here? Because if he goes to Dallas, he's going to get more volume. If he goes to Buffalo, he'll probably get more volume. If he comes here, he will be wide receiver number 3 and in a less pass first offense than those 2 offenses. So to me, if you're looking to establish your value going into, I think he's going into his age 31 season in free agency, you want the most volume, you want the most opportunity. And I don't know if that comes here. I think it's more so the 49ers like OBJ. I don't know if that is going to be reciprocated with all those factors, but I think it's a disservice to say that he doesn't improve this team. He's the second best separator on this team, in my opinion, behind Brandon Ayuk by far. So to me, I think he'd be a major help for sure.
Great points. Ted?
Awesome. Yeah. I mean, to me, did the Rams need OBJ when they traded for him last year? No, they didn't. Then they got him, and within days, Robert Woods tore his ACL in practice. Literally, I think they got him on a Monday, and that Thursday, he went down with an ACL. All of a sudden, they needed him, right? And did we need CMC when we traded for him? No, we didn't. Then Debo pulled his hamstring, and we needed him for the Rams game. So, yeah, we don't need him now, but could we need him before the end of the season? Absolutely. And as Rohan said, he makes the team better. And more than that, I don't want to play him. I don't want him on Dallas. I don't want him on the Bills if we see them in the Super Bowl. I don't want him, whoever he goes to, we'll probably see them in the playoffs. So, or the Super Bowl. So that's another reason. And then, my super petty Teddy reason is just to watch what's left of Rams Twitter completely implode.
Awesome.
Same.
I mean,
that would just, I would have so much fun with those receipts.
That one guy, I think his name is like Jake Bollergan or Bolagarin or whatever his name is.
Alan Bogan.
Wow. He is just a spaz. Man.
Well, he just knows he can get engagement by saying nasty stuff about us. And
he's right.
We'll act like if you poke a beehive, or hornet's nest, we're going to come stinging, and that's just likes and engagement for him. It's easy engagement.
Well, fellas, this was awesome. I wish we could go a little longer, but we pretty much touched on everything we needed to touch on. Rohan, I know you got a show you're about to go do, so I wish you nothing but great good luck and mazel tov to that. Everybody go follow Rohan Chakravarthy on YouTube. I know a lot of the people that are in here already do, but if you don't, get on it. TED Talks Ball is Ted's channel. Go follow him. Me and him every Wednesday. And of course, I have the NWO show on Monday, and I have the show with Amin the Dream on Friday. I'm always down to do some collaborations, and I know these guys are too. So everybody in the chat, thanks for coming in here. Thanks for being strong. Rohan, thanks again. Ted, you're the man. I'm glad you got your new camera and your new microphone. It's freaking awesome. Until next time, everybody, stay safe and healthy. And hopefully we talk to you guys next week with the 49er victory. See ya.
Tell Marco we said hi.